Hey guys, Burnished here. Today I'm bringing you my League of Legends LeBlanc guide. A lot of people have been asking me for a guide like this because you've seen my gameplay as LeBlanc, and you know, I'm alright with her. She's been pretty much the first champion I've played, or the first champion that I've ever bought that's been pretty expensive. And yeah, I've been slowly getting better at her, and I think it's about time to release a guide, so I hope you enjoy. By the way, this guide is not going to be very entertaining, to be honest. There's not very many moving pictures. It's going to be no gameplay in this video whatsoever. It's literally just going to be the guide. So if you want to go check out my channel for more gameplay videos that's more entertaining, then go ahead. There's loads up there. Alright, so first subsection we have here is the item build, and this first item build is the very offensive LeBlanc. This is the one that I use pretty much all of the time, generally in draft games and blind games. In ranked, not so much, but definitely in draft and blind I use this build because it's a lot easier than ranked, and I find that being on an offensive guild, people don't know how to counter LeBlanc as easily, so it's just generally easier, and you also have a higher damage output. So I start off with a Magi's, obviously, of course, because then each kill I get gives me an extra 16 ability power until I stack at 20 stacks. That's obviously self-explanatory. I always go for the amplifying tone first, so I can get that Magi's straight away, so I don't lose out on any ability power. Then I go on to my Sorcerer's Shoes, which give me obviously the movement speed increase, and the magic penetration. The magic penetration is quite needed. A lot of people start stacking magic pen when they see they have a LeBlanc on the enemy team, so you definitely need to cut through that to do the most damage. Next item is obviously, of course, the Rabadon's Death Cap, best AP item in the game, especially for the 30% extra AP from all items. So around this time I would already have around I'd say 14 stacks of Magi's. That's 100-ish ability power. 30% of 100 is about 30, so that's an extra 30 ability power you get from the Rabadon's Death Cap passive straight away. Next item, just to boost up the magic penetration a little bit more, is the Void Staff, giving you 40%, if I'm not mistaken, more magic penetration, and you also get a nice little bonus of 70 ability power. Next is a bit more defensive item, but I still like to take it due to the insane amount of AP that it gives you straight away. That is the Zhonya's Hourglass, and the reason why I get this is because on the stats, straight away you get plus 100 ability power, and it also has quite a nice active where you become invincible for 2 seconds. It's very good for getting out of slippery situations, stuns, etc. And last but not least, I get Morella's Evil Tome, which gives me some magic per 5, which I don't really need, to be honest, at this point in the game. Gives me 75 ability power, which is still quite nice, and most importantly gives me the 20% cooldown reduction. This means that stacked with a Magi's with 20 stacks of Soul Stealer, once you achieve 20 stacks, you get a cooldown reduction of, I believe, 20% and maybe 15%. And then with the Morella's Evil Tome, it gives you an extra 20%. And for those of you who don't know, the cap for cooldown reduction is 40%. So that gives you a pretty good cooldown reduction, and that's the one flaw thing about LeBlanc, is that she's very bad with her cooldowns. Alright, next we go on to the defensive build, and again we start off with a Magi's. I pretty much, in every single LeBlanc guide, I always start off with a Magi's. It's a great way to get armor, and this is defensive, however it doesn't mean that you're building a tank. Defensive as a LeBlanc pretty much means that you're going to go for loads of kills, but you want to at least be able to survive a couple of hits. So you obviously start off with the Magi's first to get that boost in AP. You get the Sorcerer's Boot, so you get more magic pen. I suppose you could swap these out for Mercury Treads if they have a very high CC team. You could swap these out with Boots of Swiftness if their team is very fast and agile. Anyway, next I go for the Rod of Ages. Now, the Rod of Ages gives quite a nice boost to ability power, I must add. Gives about 80 once it's fully stacked, with the 20 more ability power after waiting a while. And it also gives you a nice amount of health and mana, which definitely helps you survive longer. Okay, next, it's hard to put off, but there we go. The Rabadon's goes right after that, because you definitely need the increased ability power, or else LeBlanc's kind of useless. After that, I go with the Zhonya's Hourglass again because of the active. It's insanely good for defense. And then next, I go for either a Rylai's or a Abyssal Scepter. If their team is very heavy magically, as in they use a lot of abilities that do magic damage, then I'll definitely go for the Abyssal Scepter over the Rhyolize. However, if they're more of an AD, you've got your Zhonya's Hourglass that gives you so much armor, and then you've also got the health increase from the Rhyolize, and slows also can help. Okay, and next I'm going to talk about this in its own little sub section. It's the Magi Soul Stealer. It is a great item. It gives you the most AP out of any item in the game, and it costs so little. It's absolutely amazing. However, if you're having a pretty bad start of a game, you're getting pretty much no kills and dying a lot, then definitely replace this as soon as possible, because there's no point in having a Magi Soul Stealer if you're not getting any kills. You might as well sell that, get better items, get more kills, then buy the Magi's. So what you can trade the Magi's in for, pretty much, if it's a bad beginning game, then you're going to want to trade it in for Blasting One, so you can work towards that Ravidons, or Rod of Ages, or you want to trade it in for your next boots. For example, you can go up to the Sorcerer boots from the regular boots just by selling this, so that's always helpful. Okay, next we have the skill order, and this is the order in which you buy your skills and train them, and this is the best that I found for me. You may want to adapt this slightly depending on what you want to do, but personally I think this is the best skill order. Okay, first off, we start off with the Sigil. I'm not going to go through all the levels, but you want to max out your Sigil ASAP, because that is your main damaging ability, and that's what will hurt people at lower levels. If you can max that out as soon as possible, you'll do maximum damage at lower levels, which is what you need as LeBlanc. Next, I generally try to max out Distortion before Ethereal Chains. I know that a lot of people like doing it the other way around, however, I really do love the decreased cooldown on the Distortion, so I can get away faster, and if a fight isn't going exactly my way, it means that it's just generally faster, easier, and safer to get away. Then again, the Ethereal Chains is also good because it leaves the stun or snare, the snare stays there for longer. However, I still think Distort is much better. You can still use Ethereal Chains, it still has a pretty good effect, even at level 1. Now we move on to the summoner spells. Now the top two that you see there, those are my my favorite summoner spells, I suppose you could say, which is Flash and Ignite, because Flash is absolutely amazing for getting away. Basically, with Distort and your ulti called Mimic, you basically have 3 flashes, because you can Distort, you can use Mimic after that, and then you can Flash. So if you have all 3 of those up and off cooldown, you are pretty much impossible to catch up to, which is absolutely amazing. Mixed in with Ethereal Chains, it just becomes insane. Okay, also you can choose some other summoner spells. You've got Surge, for example. That's pretty good if you're hiding in a bush waiting for a gank. You can pop Surge, run out, and absolutely obliterate them. I tend not to use it. I think that's a too long cooldown for the only short duration it has, and I think that LeBlanc doesn't need Surge necessarily to be that powerful. I think that a utility summoner spell such as Flash would be much more beneficial. Next is Teleport. If you're midding and you want to get to mid straight away really quickly, LeBlanc is an insane mid because she has total lane domination for quite a while. So if you want to get back in there, if you have to go back or if you die, then Teleport is a great way to get back there. Next, you can choose Ghost. I'd pretty much only ever choose Ghost if you weren't level 12. If you weren't level 12 as a LeBlanc, I would choose, well, you'd have to choose Ghost instead of Flash. I would never have Flash and Ghost. It's too many utilities. Ignite is such a powerful dot that LeBlanc can need. I've had times where I haven't had Ignite. I've used my full rotation and they've been on a glimmer of HP and I've just not been able to catch up to them, or my cooldowns are just taking a bit too long. And finally, there is Summon a Heal, which pretty much any champion can use. I would say use this on LeBlanc if you're a bit of a new player to LeBlanc. If you want to learn her a bit more, then I'll swap out Ignite for Heal, so you have 2 utility spells, so you can get away and or you can also heal yourself. And finally, an amazing part of the video, this is the masteries. Now you'll notice it's got a video playing in the background. That is because I already have a mastery guide up on my channel. It's pretty much for maximum ability power. You want to get the max ability power. It is for season 2, so go check that out and then come back here. If you look at the start of the video, obviously there are the numbers, so you can get back to the next one. The next one we're going over is the rotation. Okay, and here is the rotation. Now I've got what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different rotations that I use. You can there's not much more editing than this, to be honest. You always want to combine R with Q most of the time. In the normal one, for example, the normal rotation for LeBlanc, which is always Q, then R, then W, then E. This is basically your sigil, then you're mimicking your sigil to do extra damage, so that does absolutely insane damage. Then you distort into them, which deals even more insane damage, and that puts you up close range, which allows you to use your chains with very low chance of missing. Next is chasing. This is if your enemy's running away and you want to chase up to them, kill them. You can always start with the distort and then use the sigil rotation as normal and then put the chains on them. This basically catches up to them, does a shitload of damage. Next, you can do distort and then chains, so then you've caught up to them and then you've just got them with your chains, so now they've been slowed and probably been snared, so then you can use your Q and R to absolutely obliterate their HP. And this one I wouldn't recommend using, just because when you do catch up to them, your damage output will not be the best. However, you can use distort, then mimic, so you get another distort, and then you use the chains on the person. I would rarely use this in a situation. I think it'd be more worth it to save your ultimate. However, you can use that if they're on a glimmer of HP. Then obviously you use your sigil at the end. And finally, for escaping, you got no Qs in here because obviously you don't use your sigil for escaping, but you can chain them. Then when they're in the snare, you distort, and then you distort again using mimic, or you can distort again and then use your chains. This would be for a very speedy player if you want to get away really quickly. Either one of those is good. Okay, and here we have the second to last. We have the runes. Now, first rune I get for the marks is the Greater Mark of Insight, which gives me magic penetration plus 0.95, so you get about 9 magic pen, which is always helpful. Magic pen just means you do shitloads more damage to people stacking magic resistance and also people with natural magic resistance. Next is Greater Glyph of Force. The glyphs are in I think they are doubly as effective as the seals and the marks. So this one I went for ability power per level, so it gives me about 3 ability power at level 18. So if I'm stacking 9 of these, that's about 27 ability power at level 18. It's quite a high amount. It's not the best amount obviously, but it's a pretty dramatic boost, especially from just runes. Next, we have the seals. We have the Greatest Seal of Replenishment. This is pretty much a midding rune because when I am playing LeBlanc, I'm pretty much forced to mid a lot of the time because LeBlanc is an insane mid. And this just gives you mana per 5. It's very good for mid because mid is all about sustainability. So yeah, it's pretty obvious. And then finally, your quintessences. You get 3 of them. Plus 5 ability power straight away at the start of the game, so you get 15 ability power. I think I start most games after buying my amplifying tome with about 45-ish ability power. Now that is insane amounts of ability power to just start off with at the very beginning of the game. And finally, guys, you can see all of this in action. Click on one of these. You can go watch my gameplay videos. You can go see how this guide works, and it's absolutely insane. Go try it out for yourself. You've done listening to me talking. Go try it out, you'll have a blast as LeBlanc. See you all next time.